Hi, it's Justin Paperny with Federal Prison Advice. I want to jump in with a video that it touches on reputation management. And this video stems from two conversations I had earlier this week. The first was with a client who's considering blogging from the inside, and through many text messages, we were trying to figure out if blogging is for him. And finally, it kind of closed with him saying to me, I'm close, but just feeling stuck regarding who's going to read it. Who's my audience and why I'm doing it? And I responded with, you do it for you, your family, for posterity, because no one else is doing it. Rand once said she wrote for her, for clarity of her thoughts. I agreed. If others find value, great. If not, who really cares? I did not care, and that is why it worked. When you have an agenda, a desire to make money or become rich or famous, it never works. If you are authentic, it gains traction. Look, I wanted my readers of my blog to find value in it, but initially my desire was very selfish. It was to document to my family and network that I could become more than this situation. So if reading or saying who really cares offends you, I'm sorry. My motivations from prison were to prove to my family that I could overcome this struggle that I alone had created, and documented the journey with the goal that others would benefit from it. That was my goal, and I'm proud that it worked. Secondly, I had a conversation with a prospect who's home from prison, and a lot of the work I do is post-prison, and he was seeking to diminish the success that I had in prison and beyond by telling me that my journey was easier, that my circumstances were easier, and that there was nothing that he could have done in prison to prepare for a better life upon release. And when he was questioning, and then he began to question my work ethic, what did I do? What was the point of blogging? And on and on and on. So I frequently tell people, and as you know, I hate the me marketing, talking about my success, the good and bad, and talking about what I've done and been through, the good and bad. I just don't like it. But I have to give myself occasionally some credit because, frankly, I think I've earned it. And when I tell people when I surrendered to prison April 28th of 2008, I was nervous, scared, vulnerable, like many of you listening to this or watching this video. But upon my surrender, I created a plan, and I adhered to it each and every day through fitness, through reading and writing, waking early, reading hundreds of books. Because before I ever wrote my first blog, which somehow has gone lost on my website, and I'm actually going to read it, before I wrote my first blog, October 14th, 2008, I had read more than 100 books. I had written tens of thousands of words. I had run thousands of miles around that track. Hold on, thousands? Okay, let's not get crazy. I run hundreds of miles around that track. I had reconnected with my family, and I was beginning to prove to others in my network, not through my words, but through my actions, that I could emerge stronger. So I had had a lot of hard work up until this first blog that I wrote that somehow has gone from my website. So I'm going to have the blog that I wrote. I'm going to read it. I began to document through this blog what I did and what I was hoping to do. So this is going to be one of my longer videos. If you have interest, keep listening. If not, I'll understand if you have to tune out. But for those who really want to know how you can begin to rebuild your reputation and begin to prepare for a better life in prison, you should listen. So the 14th of October 2008, I wrote to my mom, Mom, the following is my first blog. Your job will be to type and then add the blog to the website. My web partner is registering my name, etc. They have or will soon have your contact information. Naturally, do not discuss web or web partner through mail or phone. You can say what you like about the blog. I have not written since college, so feel free to correct any errors that stick out. As an example, I tend to use too many commas. Oh yeah, the web partner's info as follows, yada yada. She is setting up the blog. Okay, here we go. For those of you who are reading along, forgive the bad handwriting. 3 broken wrists as a consequence of my baseball career. Doing the best I can here. First blog. It's Sunday, October 12th, 2008. I'm in my assigned cubicle at Taft's minimum security camp. I'm seated in a plastic chair with my feet propped up on the steel frame of my bunk. My 2x4 locker is open, and on the inside of the door I see a calendar that I've drawn in pencil. I notice that more than 5 months have passed since my imprisonment began, back on April 28, 2008. It's hard to believe I made it this far. I still remember the day I self-surrendered to prison. My older brother and mother dropped me off with a clear understanding that it would be more than a year before I would walk back out the front door. I'm still haunted by the tears that came from my mother as I was led away by the correctional officer in handcuffs. No mother should have to endure such heartache. I'm serving an 18-month sentence for crimes related to my earlier career as a stockbroker at UBS. I had graduated from USC in 1997, and I had built a successful practice as a professional investment advisor during my 20s. My particular focus was managing money for professional baseball players and executing bulk trades for hedge funds. Prison was not part of the life trajectory that I envisioned. The investigation that led to my confinement started on December 5th, 2004. From that day forward, I felt wrecked with anxiety. Living in denial, I made some awful decisions. My delusions into believing that I would not be targeted for prosecution led me into a web of lies. Those lies resulted in me spending tens of thousands of dollars in unnecessary legal expenditures, and they exposed me to the potential of much stiffer legal sanctions. Besides the cost, which approached $250,000, my total ignorance of the legal process resulted in unnecessary stress for my family and friends. None of us knew anyone who had gone through the criminal justice system before. My life quickly turned into a self-fulfilling prophecy, convincing myself and everyone around me that it would be fine. And I did not even have the foresight to cancel my application to join prestigious Lakeside Country Club. And my ultimate conviction caused great embarrassment to the members who sponsored me. I failed to study so I can learn the differences between minimum security camps and those lockdown prison shows that had become so popular on those alternative television networks. I still remember my mother telling me, "Son, you are not made for prison, so you better prepare and cooperate fully." Her advice went in one ear and out the other. It took greater than 2.5 years for me to even accept that prison was a possibility. Once I did, I advanced through the process as if I was a man in his final days. As far as I could see, my life was over. I ate like a glutton, gaining 20 pounds. Humiliated by my lost fortunes, I neglected everyone by hiding. I wanted it all to end, yet from the time I opened my eyes in the morning till the time I lay down to sleep, all I could feel was the vortex into which I was sinking. In retrospect, I know that what I needed was a guide. My struggles felt magnified because I had no idea about what would happen from one day to the next. It turns out my concerns about prison were way overblown. It is no Club Fed, but without fences and bars, Taft is hardly reminiscent of a true prison. When I asked my attorney what I could expect, he could not provide the specifics I craved. "You'll be fine," was the best he could muster. The day I self-surrendered was the worst. I just had no idea about what to expect. The handcuffing, the strip search, the fingerprinting, the DNA sample, and my mugshot initially seemed too much to take. I was locked in a small cell while I waited to be processed to the camp. When I finally made it to the camp, I felt exhausted and lost. I remember feeling overwhelmed, as if the months would never pass. I did not know anything about good time possibilities or halfway house options or what awaited me on supervised release. I tried to sleep, but struggled with the tormented thoughts that came with my separation from home. I missed my mother, my father, my brother, and my dog. The concrete and steel of prison, the indignity of common restrooms, the total lack of privacy seemed too much to take. Day by day, however, I grew stronger. I began to set little goals and empowered myself with success. Exercise helped. I had been a baseball player at USC, yet the pursuit of my career brought a simultaneous neglect of my fitness. On my second day of prison, I began to run. I huffed and puffed around the track, determined to power through 3 miles. I rode the stationary bike and strength trained with push-ups, pull-ups, and dips. Slowly, I could see that I was willing my way back into better spirits. After a few months, I reached a small victory when my counselor agreed to transfer me from a 3-man cubicle into a 2-man cubicle. Then a couple of months after that, I was promoted to a job that offered more free time for me to work on my personal goals. The time opened more opportunities for introspection. That was when I realized that others were confronting the same challenges as me. Convinced that I could help them, I decided to begin writing this daily journal. Through these daily recordings of my activities, I strive to spare others the anxieties that accompany the unknown. I want those who are confronting criminal charges to grasp the realities rather than the debilitating myths about what is to come. These daily postings will illustrate the ups and downs of the prison experience. And with more than 5 months of confinement in the books, I speak with authority when I write that the journey does not have to be a waste. By following my daily postings through these final months of my sentence, I intend to provide readers with a glimpse into the unknown world of confinement. That glimpse will empower those who anticipate to struggle with the criminal justice system. It will help them make better decisions, and it will enable them to move forward with confidence. In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king, and where there is darkness, my writings will provide sight. Every day from there until my release on the 28th of May 2009, I wrote a blog highlighting my experiences as a prisoner, sharing lessons from which others can learn. So when others seek to discount my efforts or attribute my success upon my release to luck, I refer you to my documented record from imprisonment on beyond. I've worked very hard and continue to work hard to this day. I'm very grateful to be in a position to coach others through a very challenging time in their life. As I close, I want to touch on a new product or service that we're going to be launching specifically for defendants, people like me facing a criminal or civil investigation. And I've created a lawyer directory. Now, the logo on the top left will be changed, but essentially I'm going to be personally inviting up to 250 lawyers across the country to be a part of this legal directory, where we have vetted and approved and scrutinized them to the point where when a prospect or client or family member comes across our work looking for advice or a lawyer, they know that we will have done the research, and any lawyer on our legal directory has fit our qualifications. Too many defendants in trouble are taken advantage of and ripped off by lawyers. I'm not indicting all of them, though I have heard too many horror stories, myself included, of defendants being exploited and been sold a bill of goods that never actually delivers. In fact, while going through this process, I asked a few past clients to offer me some quotes on their legal situation, how it worked. One wrote, "In my case, my lawyer was so overcommitted that he typically only had time to ask me to make more payments. Otherwise, he did not seem to be on top of anything until the very last minute. Everything was a scramble. I have yet to receive the JNC, for example. My wife asked him twice after he promised to email them to me the day I self-surrendered. A second one, money, money, money. When I was his prospect, I was the most popular guy in his office. He promised to be responsive, work with me, and prepare me. I remember him telling me that he works just as hard whether I pay hourly or inclusively. Yeah, right. Once I wrote that big all-in check, I hardly heard from him. Then, when we did speak, I felt like I was bugging him, and I could tell he was trying to brush me off the phone. He has not returned one call or email since sentencing. I feel taken advantage of and stupid for trusting him. I feel like I wasted $125,000 and could have had more success with a public defender." A third one. I was so scared I called and hired the first guy found on the internet. I had no idea what I was doing. I did not have references and did not know if he had experience in federal court or his background. He just told me he would fix it. $50,000 later, my situation is worse. I have no clarity, and according to the new lawyer I had to hire, my pre-sentence investigation was a total disaster. I just did not know where to turn. More bad decisions I made. And lastly, I hired a lawyer and gave him $200,000 because he told me he can get me probation. He told me what I wanted to hear. I was too stupid to know I would serve at least 5 years because of the losses involved. In the end, I got 7. I still wonder what he did to earn $200,000. I will never know because he never calls me back. After sentencing, all he said was good luck. Again, I'm not indicting all lawyers. They're phenomenal criminal defense attorneys with whom I work, and those are the ones we'll be profiling on our site at Etika Connect that will be featured both at the Etika site and federalprisonadvice.com. So when a defendant, many of whom sit up all night reading my blogs and watching my videos, finally decides to hire a lawyer, we will have done the legwork for them. They can go to a lawyer in their part of the country, click on one, and know that they're vetted. And unlike Avo or Martindale that allows every lawyer in the world to claim they're 5-star rated, well, that's not us. This is going to be just for a few. And it's going to remain just for a few. And we're going to vet the few. And if lawyers want to be a part of it and go through our grueling process to qualify and help those who are in struggle, great. If not, I'm confident we'll find those who are sympathetic, who are not so desensitized to the process, and who are phenomenal criminal defense attorneys, whether they work for big or small firms. This was a very long video for me. I appreciate everyone listening. In a next blog, I'll get more into life on the inside. I'm going to transition into some specific strategies for thriving through prison. Wish all of you success. Reach out, 818-424-2220 with any questions. Thank you for your time. Work hard. Goodbye.